What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to another solo leveling Arise video. Alright guys, so we're going to do a quick little update on GUNHEE, talk about what is the best setup for him, best artifacts, best rotation, how you want to use him, where you want to use him, etc., and what he's all about. So first off, just want to show this real quick. Damage wise, he was 4th place. Not too shabby. So this is an I think an A9 GUNHEE that I have now, mixed with an A10 weapon. Versus an A10 Cha with an A10 weapon versus an Alicia and a Mirai. Now we obviously know Mirai, Alicia are going to always dominate. Mirai obviously destroying everything right now with that setup, which is Wu and Hansi Mi. And then we have ourselves GUNHEE here, who's currently mixed in with a different squad altogether, but he's got himself 207 million. That's right, 207 million versus Cha's 220. Very, very close numbers. It's kind of scary, actually, how close they got to each other. And this is going to show two different things. Number one, that he's actually a very good DPS, and I'm going to show you guys how the rotation works for him. And number two, Cha needs a damn buff, man. Cha needs a freaking buff, because right now she is struggling with all hell to survive and be part of this game still as a DPS herself. So we're gonna do a full tier list tomorrow, guys. Just update you guys on what the new numbers and the new, I guess, rankings look like, based on what we've done now in terms of up-to-date testing. And then we're going to talk more about the weapon tier list as well too, which will include Zeke's Fragment, which I'm still going to say is a whale weapon, by the way. But at A5, that weapon is crazy strong. So a lot of things to talk about. But first, let's go ahead and talk about GUNHEE. Now, we did our testing with him in numerous different ways with different outfits. So the first thing I want to talk about real quick, and I'll be doing this on my free-to-play account just so you guys are aware, just because I think it'll be more relative to what you want. As mentioned before, we are going to get an A1 version of him with the upcoming event. Now, the one thing to notice about the upcoming event, though, is the fact that you will need to, at the very least, complete all of the required events to get enough points to get him, I believe, or at least close enough to finishing them all. So make sure you are going to focus on that. If not, you will actually be, if you want to go further with him, to have to summon for him, okay? Now, in terms of skills, as we mentioned before, the A1 is where most free-to-play would probably want to stop. It does increase the damage for him and the light team by 8%, and then the critical hit damage also by 8%, and this will last for 20 seconds. The beauty here is it applies to everyone on that team that's light. So it'll help Cha, it'll help Min, it'll help Beck, etc. Right? Now, a lot of people are asking about A3. Now, I just want to clarify this. These two sections here are completely different of each other, okay? So when the user uses Supernova, it deals almighty break damage. That's a separate A3 feature than what the bottom one is, okay? So the ruler aura, you actually get it at A0. You guys can see here, it increases the user's defense by 30%, and then the shield by 20%, and that's all it does for 10 seconds. At A3, you get the almighty break on the special, but this ruler's aura being enhanced is automatically given to you, okay? This increases the user's defense by 50%. The user gains a shield equal to 20% of GUNHEE's defense, and the user damage taken is reduced by 20%. So this is huge. This is huge, okay? So this is going to, whenever the ruler's aura is active, guys, okay? Whenever this ruler's aura is active, this is what it becomes at A3, okay? It's not that you have to cast the ultimate for this to be there. This is automatically just takes place of this ruler's aura. It's just a replacement for it, okay? So you get 5 more seconds on it, you get 20% more defense, and you get yourself 20% more damage reduction, which normally doesn't even occur. So I just want to make sure people understand that. So A3 is a very good place to stop for anybody, really, but A1 for free-to-play, if you don't want to spend any gems on him, is more than enough. Essence stones in this case, right? And then, of course, for more damage, you want to push all the way down to the A5, and that's where whales are going to be the most lucrative, obviously, in this case. Now, in terms of skills and where you want to focus on his skills, the main things are going to be his core damage, because the Abdominal Crush and Fighting Spirit are actually two of his biggest damaging moves. So these are the two that you want to put most of your efforts into leveling up. So anytime you want to go further, I would say core damage, and then obviously having yourself the Fighting Spirit as well too is a very important one too. So I would push these two to like 7-7 if you can. Now this skill over here called the Power of Brilliant Light is a very strong skill, but it also reactivates these two. So it's kind of like a move you use after the fact. And we'll show you guys how the rotation works in this, okay? So these are the 3 main skills you want to focus on, and then of course the ultimate. He does actually have quite a bit of a QTE presence here, because some of his things activate from his QTE, so you might want to put a little bit on that but not focus too much. And then of course his ult should probably be around level 7. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, 4 and then 5, sorry. So those are the skills to focus on. Now let's talk about his artifacts. Artifacts are pretty straightforward. We did a couple tests with different artifacts. Two of the best ones we found are the following: AP's Greet Set, pretty straightforward. He's a breaker, right? You're gonna do more break damage. He scales off of defense, but he does have high crit hit rate and crit hit damage. So these are two that are going to do really well. And then of course, right over here, he does more break damage using the burning greed of the break effect here by 30%. Whenever you fight someone who's elementally weaker than him or weak to light, he's going to do 30% more damage. So this is a no-brainer here. Another one for newer players is going to be probably the solid analysis, so the 4-piece solid analysis, which is going to give you more break damage as well too. And then also over here you'd have like the executioner or the berserker or like the sylph or something like that will help you out here. But ideally what you want to do at the end of the day here is have four warmonger and 4 curse. That's the best DPS setup I've seen so far outside of the AP's greed. So warmonger here, if you don't know what the set does, it actually ends up giving you both the attack and defense buff every time you do a hit. So here I'll show you guys the warmonger set right there. So increase the user's attack and defense by 4%. But then the 4-piece set here, when the user attacks the target, their attack and defense increases by 3%, stacking up to 8 times every 0.5 seconds, and this can just stay on there permanently with him. He just attacks non-stop, right? So this is a great set for increasing defense and damage. And then over here, the curse set, of course, would be fantastic because the curse set will increase your total damage overall output that you do. So that's going to help as well to just do as much damage with him as possible. Again, he is a breaker, but he's also a pretty damn good damage dealer as shown with the numbers. So that's what you want to go for that. Those are the 2 best sets for him. In terms of basics, his weapon of choice is obviously going to be this one. It increases his the user's defense by 4%, and then when he does fighting spirit or heavy attack fighting spirit, the light damage dealt to the target is increased by 4% for 15 seconds. And the light damage dealt to the opponent can be applied by anybody. So it'll be a debuff on the opponent. So anyone who does light damage on the opponent will actually benefit from this. So this will help the full light team, which is where you want to sit. Now, in terms of getting him to a certain point here for the weapon, I mean, push it as far as you possibly can, because you guys can see here that 12% is essentially the A4 buff that you get, the passive. So with the A4 passive plus this, you're getting 24% just from the weapon and the A4 passive. Now, when you do the fighting spirit or heavy attack fighting spirit, that 12% extra damage of light damage can be applied from anybody. So no matter who you have on your team that's light, if they do light damage, this will affect it. So a lot of people are asking what that debuff was. That's coming from the weapon. All right, so very good weapon for him to do more damage. Very good weapon for increasing damage for Cha and everybody else. So that will scale quite well for your light team as well too. Okay, so push this as far as you can, obviously, if you plan to main him. If not, I mean, honestly, I'd say A1 is good enough for anyone who plans to use it. All right, so those are the skills. Those are the artifacts I would use. Now let's just kind of go over his rotation and kind of explain to you guys how you want to use them. So depending on your advancement, you're going to do the rotation a little bit differently. At A0, the rotation works slight bit different than how it normally would. Now you guys can see there that he has the second skill and the fighting spirit, which is the first skill, and then the core attack. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys kind of how it works without the setup. Now the bear's going to probably charge at me. He always does. So the second skill will always reactivate the fighting spirit. So do the second skill after you do fighting spirit. Now you see fighting spirit icon change to heavy fighting spirit, and then the core activates, right? So with A0, you want to do fighting spirit first, then you do your second skill to reactivate fighting spirit. So you have 2 attacks, and then now you can do the other one again. Watch, see, like core attack gets up, boom, core attack in, and you can see now heavy fighting spirit is active on skill 2 rather than normal fighting spirit. Okay, so that's how you normally run this setup at A0. Now it works a little bit differently at the other advancements. Okay, the other advancements, what you want to do, and I'll explain this to you very quickly, so the rotation will look different. All right, the other advancements, when heavy, especially at A1, when you get that advancement, it changes the way you have to run things, because his fighting spirit actually activates the core attack. All right, so again, let me go to the hunter and we'll go through this together right here. So the way it's going to work, right, because when you do A1, see, heavy fighting spirit or fighting spirit activates the core attack. So what you'll do is you do fighting spirit first in the beginning of the fight, your core attack activates, then you do your core attack, and then you do your second skill right here, the power of brilliant light. That will reactivate this again, and then this will reactivate your core again. All right, so you're going to go fighting spirit core, brilliant of light, fighting spirit core. And then from there, you just continue rotating from that point on, okay? So that you will need to make sure you do that, because if you don't do that, if you do, for example, power brilliant light first, you're missing a full rotation of free damage from the fighting spirit and heavy fighting spirit, and then you're also missing the core damage twice, right? So that's a big mistake a lot of people are going to be making. Make sure you do this first, this second, third, this again, back to this. And then you kind of cycle around. Now, when these are on cooldown, keep attacking basic till you get your abdominal crush back up, and then you go back to this, and then again reset it with this one, go back here and do this again. All right, so just go back and forth like that as much as you possibly can, and it will remember, the abdominal crush becomes heavy attack abdominal crush, which does way more damage as well too. So make sure you are continuously doing that nonstop and pushing that same rotation out to get the most amount of damage as you possibly can. All right, so again, the way the rotation works at A1 is different than the way it works at A2. At A0. At A0, you start with this, you go to this, then back to this, and then there. With A1, you go this, and then back to that. All right, and then you continue going in that same pattern. All right, guys, this is Payne. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.